This can be quite an emotive subject, the MVP, the minimum viable product, and of course, users' expectations. So let's understand what we mean by this and why there is sometimes a disconnect. So a minimum viable product. In Agile, the purpose of a minimum viable product is to validate our hypothesis. So we're trying to validate whether the market wants and will buy our product, or we're trying to validate whether it's technically feasible to deliver a product. The waterfall, the traditional project management approach to minimum viable product is of course different, and this happens because we build from the product backlog in a different way. Agile delivers based on value, maximizing value at the beginning of the project, whereas a traditional plan-driven approach will not necessarily deliver the most value at the beginning. They tend to deliver in such a way that there's a big bang at the end, and it needs to be complete for there to be any value at all. So those are a little bit of the differences, and certainly working on projects, users can get very very antsy if they find that if they hear the word MVP or they will hear minimum viable product being mentioned. We need to explain to them that this is the Agile version, which means it's the first version of the product or the service or whatever it is that we're creating. It's the first version of that we're putting in front of them to get feedback. And one way to look at this, one way that was taught to me when I was learning how to become a product owner, was comparing this to something called the Kano or Kano model. And this is where we look at satisfaction of the customer based on the level of execution of the product. And within that, we can work out where that MVP should sit. And it should sit somewhere there. So there should be enough value in what we've delivered to be able to satisfy a customer to a large extent. But the more satisfied they are, the better. The more satisfied they are, the earlier we can stop evolving the product, stop developing it. But we just need to be aware of the differences between the two. An MVP must have value. We must be able to look at it and say, yes, this is better than the thing before. If we look here at one of the first Harley Davidsons that was made, basically it was a bicycle that had a motor attached to it from what we can tell. But obviously that brought value, that added value, and it was something that a user could use. It obviously looks nothing like the more current, more modern versions of the Harley Davidson. And indeed now they're moving even further into creating the electric version of it. But so let's be clear about what we mean. The MVP does not mean that the project stops at that point. And if you're working with a team and that's what they mean by that, then they are not agile. They're actually working a waterfall way and they're just trying to deliver. Basically, they will have run out of time or money and they're just delivering what they've managed to get, wherever they've managed to get to in their project plan. If we were to look at some examples, again going back to the past, this here is a model of one of the first cars. Or the first car ever produced. Does it have value? Is it of use? To an extent, yes, but obviously it's not what we're used to now. But there was something there that we could use that made it better than whatever the alternative was. Compare that to one of the first flying machines. Of course, apart from a bit of an adventure and a bit of excitement and prototyping and testing things, probably those really had very little value until we were able to evolve that product onto something else. So again, context tells us a lot about whether it is an MVP, and if it is an MVP, if there is value in it, not if there is no value and we can't use it. If someone says it's the MVP, but you can't use it and everyone is dissatisfied, then it's not ready, and we need to continue evolving it.